Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Adda247. बेल आइकन दबाइए, Adda247 की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस पाइए. Adda247, गवर्नमेंट जॉब इन योर पॉकेट.
Hello friends, I am Anchal and I welcome you all on Adda247. So here we are on another show of root words, and here we'll be learning a lot of new words. With this, I will tell you we'll be learning 6 root words. Along with this, I will tell you some more root words over here, and in that condition you have to form at least 5 words out of each root word that you learn today. This is a promise that I want from all of you. So let's begin with this without wasting our time. The first root word for today is NARR. So wherever you get NARR written in any of the words that talks about only the telling part, that means you are expressing something through words, that, or it can talk about a story, an incident. Whatever you're expressing about an incident, that is what we relate to NAR, right? Now the words that can be formed through this is narrative, narrate, narrator, then we have innarrable, and the other word is narratological. Now, when I talk about the first word, that is narrative, you can see we have IVE written somewhere, and if we have IVE in the end of any word, that defines an adjective, right? That defines an adjective. With this, if we have ATE written in the end of any word, this defines a verb. Similarly, if you have TOR, like for example, if you have administrator, you have TOR in the end of the word. You have narrator, you have TOR in the end of that word. Then again, if we have TOR in the end of a word, this will define somebody who is related to a person of that occupation. So, when we say able, this talks about the capability of somebody, right? When we say able, this talks about the capability of something. Then we have logy. Now logy actually defines the science or the study of something, but then here logical is related to brain or your mind, how you understand, how you perceive things. This is what we mean by narratological. Now the first word is narrative. Narrative is actually a story or an incident which can be expressed using some words, using some actions, using some gestures. So whenever something can be expressed, something can be told, is what we mean by narrative. For example, this is a narrative incident. That means you can talk about that incident, you can express that incident, right? Next is narrate. As I told you, it is a verb and nar is placed over there. That means you must be telling something to somebody, right? So narrate is actually what? To tell a story. This is a verb that defines to tell a story. And the person who expresses it, the story itself is known as narrative. The work that is done is called narrate. And the person who does that is called narrator. A person who tells or expresses a story, right? Now the next word is innumerable. Now as I told you, whenever we have in written somewhere, this defines not. This defines not of something. This defines that it cannot be done or separation or apart. So here we have narrable. Able means capable. Nar means to tell. In means not. So that means what? That means this is an opposite of narrative. Narrative means something which can be expressed, and innarrable means what? This means incapable of being expressed. Something which cannot be expressed. Then we have narratological. Now narratological means how you tell a story and how someone perceives it. That means every time the narrator narrates a story, there can be two extremes of it. Either you take the negative part of it or you take the positive part of it. Whenever we have a storyline mentioned anywhere, it will have two impacts. It will have a bad impact, it will have a negative impact or a positive impact. So how the narrator is telling the story, first part is this, how you tell a story, how the narrator tells a story, and then how the person who is listening to it perceives it. This is another form, and both the combination makes what? Narratological. And that is why I told you logical is dependent on your mind, on the capability of your understanding whatever has been told to you. So I hope NER is actually clear to you now, and any word that is related to it will make logical sense in your mind. Moving further, we have our next word, and that is mort. That is mort. Now when we refer to the word mort, mort is related to death. This is related to death or dead body, right? For example, if we talk about the word immortal, what does this mean? And if we remove im from here, it becomes mortal. What do you mean by mortician? What do we refer to as moribund? Then we have amortize. Now, the first thing, as I told you, as we use in as not, similarly we use im as not as well, right? So, in, im, ill, all the three means not, negate something. Similarly, when I say mortal, mortal means something which has an end, because man is mortal, right? Man is mortal, that means man is certain to die, certain to end. That means this will end one or the other day. Similarly, if I add im to it, this is what? This shows not. Mortal means certain to die, so immortal, what does this mean? It means that something which is living forever, which doesn't have an end. For example, we say that man dies, man is mortal, but the soul is immortal. Because why? Because the soul keeps living his life as long as the person is remembering that soul, right? So, soul is immortal, but the mortal, but what is mortal? Mortal is man. Human being is mortal, but his soul is immortal, because soul never dies, the human body does. Then we have mortician. As I told you, TOR defines what? Person. Similarly, if we have this word CIAN or IST written somewhere, it also defines being person or related to person. When I say Shian defines what? Shian defines person. Similarly, mort defines death. So, mortician, who is he? He is a person who takes care of the dead bodies. Who takes care of the dead bodies. In short, we call it undertaker. In short, we call it undertaker. Then we have the word moribund. Now, this is what we mean by at the point of death. At the point of death. Something is about to end, something is about to become in a dead position. That is what we mean by moribund, at the point of death. Again, if we have IZE, like in memorize we have IZE, we have amortize. Similarly, if we have IZE written somewhere, this also defines what? This also defines your verb. Similarly, if I have amortize, what does this mean? Gradually write off the cost of something. That means, for example, you buy a phone today, or if you buy a machinery today, right, to produce something. What happens? Each year, the value, the cost of that machinery depreciates, right? So, for that reason, gradually, that is why gradually is placed. Each year, year by year, the cost of that machinery depreciates, the cost becomes less, and that is what we mean by writing off, right? That is what we mean by writing off, and there will be a time when that machinery will have no value at all. If you go to sell that machinery, it has no value at all, and that is what we mean by amortize, gradually writing off, gradually depreciating the amount, the initial cost of a machinery bought. Now, moving further, we have the third word, and I hope mot is actually clear to you, absolutely clear to you. And if you have any of these words in the word, then you will be able to know the meaning of it. Now, next is mon or mono. In the previous video, I told you about monocular, right? That is relating to one eye. I told you about this. So, mono or mon is actually related to one or being single. One or being single. That was also related to one eye. Monocular is also relating to one eye only, and that is why we say mon or mono is relating to one or single person, single eye, single anything that is single, right? So, if we write monochromat, what does this mean? If I write monologue, what does this mean? If I write monotheism, now here you are going to get a lot of root words, right? Then if you have monastery, what does this mean? If you have monophobia, what does this mean? If you have monotonous, what does this mean? Now see, each and every word given over here has mon or mono in it, right? Before starting that, let me talk about the other root words that we can get here. The first is chromat. Whenever we have chrome written somewhere, this talks about the color of something, right? This talks about the color of something. When we talk about log, log defines the script. Log defines the script, anything in written form, right? Or speech, rather script, you should write speech. Then we have theism. Whenever we have theism written somewhere, this is related to only and only God. Theism is related to God. Now, phobia is related to fear. See, you got a lot of root words in this, right? Then, OUS, as you know, OUS defines what? This defines an adjective, so we can write it here only. OUS defines an adjective. So, when I say monochromat, as I told you, chromat, here, chrome means what? Color. And mono means singular. So, monochromat, what does this mean? Having one solid color. One solid color means there is no mixture of any other color in that color. So, when something has only and only one color, that is what we mean by monochromat. Next is monologue. Log means speech. Mono means one or single. So, monologue is actually a speech that we talk to oneself. That is what we mean by monologue. So, a speech spoken by one person. The speech spoken by one person, you can also call that person a narrator, because again he is speaking something, he is narrating something, he is telling something, right? Then we talk about monotheism. As I told you, theism is worshipping of God. Theism is following a God, and when I say mono, that means you follow only one God, you worship only one God. So, the belief in one God is what we mean by monotheism. Next is monastery. Monastery is actually a religious place where people go to find peace apart from the world, leaving the world behind, where the people go and find peace for themselves, find peace for their mind. That is what we mean by monastery. So, this is a religious house where one goes to be alone, away from the world. Then we have the word monophobia. As I told you, phobia means fear. Mono means single or one. Monophobia means the fear of being alone. The fear of being alone. Some people have this fear, they cannot live alone because, not because of the ghost or something, they cannot stay alone. They feel uneasy when they are alone, they feel that nobody is around, and that is a fear that defines it, monophobia, fear of being alone. Next is monotonous. When you do one task again and again repeatedly, that is what we mean by monotonous. Having one tone repeatedly. So, when something has one tone repeatedly, something keeps on, for example, if we talk about our work routine, what do? Get up, go to the work, come back, sleep. Get up, go to the work, come back and sleep. So, you are So you're not having anything exciting in your life, and that monotonous, that routine life is what we mean by monotonous. Something which is monotonous, something which has no effect in your life, that is what we mean by monotonous. So you need to change, you need a change, because change is permanent and that needs to be there in everybody's life, right? So monotonous should never be something. You should be learning more and more, you should be learning new and new things, right? With this we come to the fourth word, and that is omni. Omni means all. Omni means all. Something which is present everywhere, something which can hold everything, that is what we mean by omni. So we can make different words out of it, like we have omnipotent, we have omniscient, then we have omnivorous. This is a very common word that we have learned since childhood. Then we have omnipresent, then we have omnibus. Now, when I say omnipotent, you must be knowing or you must be remembering a word. In the previous videos, I told you about the word matri, and with that matri word, I told you mother, the exercises or the power that has been exercised by mother since time immemorial, that is what we mean by matripotence, right? So potent is actually a word that is related to power, strength, right? Power or strength. So when I say matripotent, that means the power or the energy that has been practiced by your mother, that is matripotent. When I say omnipotent, omni means all, potent means power. So omnipotent, what does this mean? It means having all the power. You can easily relate this to God. We call God Almighty, right? We call God Almighty. When I say might, might is again a word that is related to power, strength, and all means what? Everything. So Almighty, somebody who has all the power. Similarly is what we mean by omnipotent, having all the powers. So this is what we relate to our God. Next is omniscient. Scient means knowing something, having the knowledge, holding the knowledge of something. And omni means all. So omniscient, knowing everything. Knowing everything is what we mean by omniscient. Next word is vorous. Vorous defines what? Vorous defines having or eating, consumption of something. When I say omnivorous, this defines what? Eating all. Eating all means, one is herbivorous, that lives only on the plants or leaves. Then is carnivorous. Carn is a word that defines flesh or meat. So carnivorous defines what? Eating only and only flesh. Then you have omnivorous. Omni means all. So omnivorous means one who eats herbs and flesh, both. That is what we mean by omnivorous. So man is omnivorous. We can have fruits, we can have vegetables. Along with this, we can have chicken and meat and all the things, right? Then we talk about omnipresent. Again, you can relate it to God only. Why? Present means showing presence, happening somewhere, occurring somewhere. Omni means all. So omnipresent is what? It means the state of being everywhere. The state of being everywhere, right? Or if you see somebody who meets you frequently, wherever you go, you meet that person. So that person is also omnipresent for you. Why? Because he is present everywhere you go. Then we talk about omnibus. Bus is actually a vehicle and omni means all. So it's actually a vehicle that carries a lot of passengers. A bus, a vehicle that carries a lot of passengers is what we mean by omnibus. So I suppose till now all the words related to omni, related to nar, mot and mono are clear. With this you got to know a lot of root words that have been written over here. So I hope with this you'll be helping yourself out in a lot of way, right? Moving further, we have opt-t. Now this will not relate to opt, that is the eye related thing, optic. It's not optic, it's optim actually. And this talks about the best of everything, the best of anything. For example, we have the words like optimal, we have optimize, we have optimum, we have optimism, then we have optimist, right? Now, when I say optimal, optimal means the best of everything. For example, if I say take the optimal utilization of this resource, that means whatever resource has been presented to you or given to you, take the optimal use of it. That means the best use so that nothing goes waste. That is what we mean by optimal, the best of something. Then I say optimize, as I said, I-Z-E. This also defines verb. So optimize, what does this mean? Again, this is a verb, so it means to make the best out of something. Best of something. Then we have the optimum. Optimum means the best level of something. The best of something. The best something could be. The best something could be. You cannot use it in a better way. That is what we mean by optimum. Next is optimism. Optimism is a word that defines expecting the best from everything. Best from everything. Everybody wants to be an optimistic person. Everybody suggests you to be an optimistic person. So optimist actually is a person who thinks the best of everything, who is always positive about things. No matter what, something good will happen. No matter the things are not going good right now, but later on everything will be fine. And that is what we mean by optimist. So as I told you, IST is a word that defines a person. So optimist is a person expecting the best or the good in everything. That is what we mean by optimist. Moving further, till now we have learnt 5 root words. Along with this, we have learnt at least 5 words out of each root word, right? Moving further, we have the last root word of this session, and that is OXI or OXY. When I say oxy, this defines sharpness of something. Sharp, acute is what we define by oxy. For example, we have the words like oxymoron. What does this mean? We have oxidize, again we have I-Z-E, that means it's a verb. Then we have oxygon, then we have oxylalia, and then we have oxyblepsia. Now, when I say oxymoron, oxymoron means when you have the two extremes of something. If you have ideas in your mind, right? There's one topic, you have ideas in your mind. At one time, you think that this is the panacea to all. That means this is one solution that can cure everything. On the other hand, you see that this is the only thing that can cause a lot of harm. So this is what we mean by oxymoron, having two contradictory ideas for the same thing at the same time is what we mean by oxymoron. So what does this mean? Combining two ideas that sharply contradict each other, that are totally opposite to each other. That is what we mean by oxymoron. Next is oxidize. Oxidize means corrode a surface. Sharply corrode a surface. That is what we mean by oxidize. Next is oxygon. Gon means angles. Gon means the corners, the angles of something. And when I say oxygon, oxygon means having acute, sharp angles, corners of something. Then we say oxylalia. This means fast speech. Even I have this ability, or rather you can call it disability. Sometimes I speak really fast, and that is excessively fast. Excessively fast, and sometimes people don't understand what does she say. So that is what we mean by oxylalia, when somebody speaks like excessively fast and that nobody understands it. So they beg your pardon and they ask you, what did you say? Can you come again? That is what we mean by auxilalia, fast speech or excessively fast speech that nobody can understand, whosoever is listening to it. That is what we mean by auxilalia. Next is oxyblepsia. This means abnormal sharpness of sight. Abnormal sharpness of sight. Abnormal, you can understand it through extraordinary. When you have extraordinary sharpness of sight, for example, we have this in our mothers. She tells you that something, if you ask her, where is this kept? She will tell you, this is kept on this shelf. You will go find it, you will not find it. Your sister will help you out, she won't find it. Your brother will help you out, he won't find it. But then, when your mother comes, that thing is simply placed there. And I don't know how come the children cannot find it, but then the mother comes, and that is what we mean by this. Extraordinary sharpness of sight. If nobody can see something, your mother can, and that is what we mean by oxyblepsia, abnormal or extraordinary sharpness of sight. So I hope you have understood the meaning of ner, mot, mono, oxy, opt and omni. Along with this, you have a lot of words like IVE, OUS, ATE, IZE, ter, able, logi, in, im, theism, phobia, Shean, ist, chrome, log and potent. So with these words, I want you to make at least 5 words out of each root word present over here, which will help you out in developing a lot of vocabularies and in developing and improving your vocabulary skill as well. So keep watching Adda247 and keep loving us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Press the bell icon on the YouTube app and never miss another update from Adda247. बेल आइकन दबाइए, Adda247 की सारी नोटिफिकेशंस पाइए. Adda247 गवर्नमेंट जॉब इन योर पॉकेट.